The price of acceptance. The room smelled of stale air, mixed with the faint scent of lavender from the scented candles I had lit hours ago. It wasn't enough to mask the tension that clung to the space. The dim light from the small desk lamp cast long shadows, stretching across the walls like the creeping weight of failure. My daughter sat hunched over on the edge of the bed, her shoulders shaking with silent sobs. I could hear the paper rustling beneath her fingers, the rejection letter she had opened just moments before. Another one. Another no. Another door slammed in her face. Her dream was slipping away, the dream she had clung to since she was little, since she first decided that she would be someone special, that she would be different. But that dream was no longer just about her. It had become about us, about me, the future I had planned for her. And every rejection letter was a reminder that I was failing her. I kept stroking her hair, my hand moving slowly, methodically, as I always did when she was upset. It was a calming gesture, one she had always found comfort in. Her long brown hair was tangled and limp, strands falling loose from the ponytail she had tied earlier that morning. But she didn't care to fix it. Her face was flushed with frustration, tears streaking down her cheeks. "Sweetheart, it's going to be okay," I whispered softly, though I knew it wasn't true. Nothing was okay. Nothing would be okay until we got the money, until we got the opportunity she deserved. I shifted my gaze to the small desk in the corner of the room, my eyes falling on the sharp, metallic object that lay there, the hacksaw. I had prepared for this moment. I had prepared for the worst. But as I looked at my daughter, I saw the look in her eyes, the confusion, the vulnerability, the fear. She didn't understand what I was willing to do for her. Not yet, but she would. She would. "You know, honey," I said, my voice calm, unnervingly so. "I told you, the only way we're going to get the money is if we apply to one of those scholarships for the physically disabled. It's the only way." Her sobs stopped momentarily, and she looked up at me with wide, tear-filled eyes. Her lips trembled, unsure of how to respond, unsure if I was joking. But she had to know. She had to understand the lengths I was willing to go to for her future. "Dad, what are you talking about?" she whispered, her voice barely audible. "What do you mean, I leaned in closer, my fingers still gently brushing through her hair, the rhythmic motion oddly soothing in the midst of the chaos in my mind. "You want to get into a good school, right? You want that scholarship, that chance. But we're not going to get there the regular way. They'll never accept you, not with your record." I could see the fear creeping into her expression now, the realization starting to take root. "What? What are you saying?" Her voice cracked as she spoke, disbelief mingling with the growing sense of dread. I didn't answer right away. I couldn't. Not until I saw the look in her eyes, the panic that was slowly giving way to acceptance. That was when I picked up the hacksaw, lifting it slowly from the desk and placing it gently in my other hand. The sound of the saw's teeth scraping against the metal was unnervingly clear in the silence of the room. I watched as her eyes tracked the motion of my hand, her body stiffening, her breath shallow. "Dad, no. What are you doing?" Her voice was rising now, but I wasn't angry. I wasn't upset. I was calm. Calm for her, for us. "Honey," I said softly, placing the hacksaw back down on the desk. "Sometimes the world isn't fair. You know that, right? People like us, we don't get the breaks. But we can make our own way. I'm doing this for you. For your future." She stood up suddenly, backing away from me, her face pale with terror. "No, you can't." "Shh," I said, raising my hand, palm facing her. I was smiling now, but it wasn't the smile I usually wore. This was something else, something colder, something more determined. "Sweetie, listen to me. You've worked so hard, you've done everything right. But we both know that's never been enough. The world doesn't care about that. But it will care about you if you're different. If you're special." I could see her struggling to comprehend what I was saying, her body trembling, her hands curling into fists at her sides. Her eyes darted between the hacksaw and me, the realization starting to dawn, slow and horrifying. "You don't mean that," she whispered, the words barely a breath. But I did. I meant every word. I do, I replied, my voice unwavering. You have to be willing to sacrifice, to do what others won't. If you want to get what you deserve, you have to prove you're different. That's how this works. She stared at me, frozen, unable to move, her body a mix of disbelief and horror. I could see the tears welling up in her eyes again. But this time, she didn't sob. She was too stunned, too paralyzed by the weight of what I was asking. I moved toward her then, slowly, deliberately, and I cupped her cheek in my hand, as though trying to reassure her. Honey, I said softly, we'll make it. We'll get there. You'll have everything you want, I promise. She didn't speak. She didn't move. But the seeds of doubt had been planted. She was beginning to understand that this wasn't a game. This was the way the world worked. The only way. As I turned away, the cold weight of the hacksaw in my hand felt less like a tool and more like a symbol of the lengths I was willing to go for her, to give her everything she deserved. I would make sure she got what she wanted. I would make sure she wasn't rejected again. I would do anything to make sure of that.